Welcome back, everyone. Today, we are really going deep, diving into the early career of a true legend.
A legend indeed.
Ronaldo. I mean, the Brazilian Ronaldo.
Oh, phenomenal.
That's right. Before the trophies, the World Cups, the global fame, there was Cruzeiro.
His launching pad.
That's exactly what we're going to explore today.
The beginning of everything.
How this kid from Rio basically went from, unknown to unstoppable, all in the span of, 2 seasons.
It's pretty mind-blowing when you look at the timeline. I mean, we have these sources that you've dug up, some real gems in here about those early days, some stuff I honestly hadn't even seen before.
Oh, yeah, there's some real gold in here. Okay, get this. So even before Cruzeiro, Ronaldo's talent was obvious.
Oh, yeah, kid was a standout.
Right. But here's the crazy part. Big clubs in Brazil, like Botafogo, São Paulo, they had their eye on him.
They knew, even then.
But his childhood team, Flamengo,
the team he grew up supporting,
they turned him away.
Can you imagine the irony?
I mean, talk about almost missing out on one of the greats.
I mean, talk about a what-if moment in football history.
And the reason, are you ready for this?
Let's hear it.
He couldn't afford the bus fare to get to practice.
It's hard to believe, right? A future global icon held back by something as simple as bus fare.
It just shows you, right? I mean, sometimes even the most incredible talent can be hidden in plain sight.
Sometimes it takes a little bit of luck, a twist of fate.
Which is where Jairzinho comes in.
Ah, the legendary Jairzinho, a World Cup winner himself.
Talk about a mentor. He saw Ronaldo's potential, right? And he's the one who actually kind of stepped in and was like, this kid needs to be a Cruzeiro.
He was the one who opened the door, absolutely.
And they signed him what, 50,000?
Something like that, yeah. And from that moment on, it's like Ronaldo just had this fire lit under him. Like he knew he had to prove himself.
And boy, did he ever. I mean, his youth team debut.
Legendary, go on.
4 goals.
The kid was unstoppable.
I mean, what do you even do with that as a coach?
You know you've got something truly special on your hands.
You know, it's funny. When I was reading through these sources, it struck me that even though we all know how Ronaldo's story ends, right? Like global stardom and all that, there's still this feeling of anticipation, even excitement, reading about those early days. You know what's coming, but you're still on the edge of your seat.
I know exactly what you mean. It's like watching a rocket about to take off. You know it's going to soar, but the anticipation is still thrilling.
Totally. Okay, so back to Ronaldo. He's at Cruzeiro, tearing it up in the youth team.
Setting records already.
But then just 3 months later,
boom, professional debut.
Talk about a meteoric rise. But it doesn't stop there, right?
Oh, no, this is just the warm-up act.
Because then comes the summer tour of Europe in 1993.
Cruzeiro heads over to Portugal for a series of friendlies.
And they're playing Belenenses.
A good test for a young Ronaldo.
And he scores against a professional European side.
This is where it gets real, you know? This is the moment where everyone realizes, okay, this kid is the real deal.
I mean, you've got to figure his confidence must have just been through the roof at this point.
And his coach, Carlos Alberto Silva, he sees this and knows right away. Ronaldo has to be a first-team regular. No more messing around.
And it's right around then that Porto comes calling.
A major Portuguese club.
We're like, okay, we see this kid's potential. We're going to offer you $500,000.
$500,000 for a teenager who's barely played professionally. It was unheard of at the time.
But Cruzeiro's president, he's like, nope.
Smart move. He knew Ronaldo was worth way more than that.
Yeah. I mean, looking back, what a bargain that would have been for Porto, right?
Talk about a missed opportunity. Ronaldo's value was only going to go up from there.
So Ronaldo comes back to Brazil after that European tour, and things just escalate quickly.
It's like a switch flips.
Tell me about it.
20 goals in 21 games for Cruzeiro.
Just incredible. It's like he absorbed everything he saw in Europe, all that experience, and just channeled it into this pure goal-scoring power.
Yeah. He was unstoppable. Just a constant threat on the pitch.
And then it's time for the Supercopa Libertadores.
One of the biggest club tournaments in South America at the time.
And Ronaldo. Well, he decides to put on a show.
And what a show it was.
First up, they're playing Colo-Colo, a Chilean powerhouse.
A tough opponent.
And Ronaldo.
Hat trick.
In the first leg.
And then, to really drive the point home, he scores 2 more in the second leg.
5 goals against Colo-Colo over 2 games. That's a statement.
He's just getting started. Then they face Nacional from Uruguay, another massive club.
Yeah.
Ronaldo bags another 3 goals. Just like that.
He finishes the tournament as the top scorer. 8 goals.
And he was like, what, 17 at this point?
The youngest player to ever achieve that in the Supercopa Libertadores.
Talk about announcing your arrival.
The world was watching. And they were all saying the same thing. Who is this kid?
And it's not even over yet. November 7th, 1993. A date etched in Brazilian football history, right?
Tell me about it. Cruzeiro's playing Bahia in the Campeonato Brasileiro Serie A. That's like their top league.
The big leagues.
And Ronaldo, 5 goals in 1 game.
5, and Cruzeiro wins 6-0.
I mean, just insane.
The sources describe his performance as otherworldly, like he was playing a different sport entirely. He dribbled through Bahia's defense like they weren't even there.
He's just that good, huh?
That's when the comparisons to Pele really started to gain traction. People saw that same magic, that same effortless brilliance.
It's interesting because, like in the sources I read, some critics said that those comparisons to Pele were premature, even unfair.
Of course, that's understandable. Pele's legacy was, and still is, enormous.
Right. And it's important to remember that these are just opinions. But some people saw shades of Pele in Ronaldo's style, that explosiveness and that clinical finishing.
And after that 5-goal performance against Bahia, Ronaldo became the second youngest player in South American history, after guess who? Exactly. To score a hat-trick in a professional league, I mean, at that point, you couldn't ignore the parallels.
It's pretty wild to think about, right? All of this happened in, like, 2 seasons at Cruzeiro.
Just 2 seasons.
44 goals in 47 appearances.
Helped them win the Copa do Brasil in '93.
And then the Minas Gerais State Championship in '94.
A star was born.
It really sets the stage for everything that comes after.
It does. I mean, think about it. We've only scratched the surface here.
This is just the beginning, right?
Exactly. This is the foundation. But the real story, the global phenomenon that Ronaldo becomes, it's all still to come.
And that, my friends, is something for our next deep dive.
Stay tuned.
We'll pick up the story from there.
And it only gets more incredible.
Until then, thanks for listening.
Always a pleasure.